So I have a pleasure of welcoming Dr. Dhiren Ganjwala from Ahmedabad. He is a renowned pediatric orthopedic surgeon, and more interestingly, he is a motivational speaker. And just not motivational speaker, he is also someone who puts that into action. I've been communicating with him in several email, and in every email, I've only got encouragement and good words and something that makes one perform better. So I'm sure at the end of workshop, we'll have many things to take away from this. We'll know about team building, we'll know about how to resolve conflicts, how to handle success and failures. And of course, the keynote lecture today, after the inauguration, is also an interesting one where he'll be talking about the missing T of the T trilogy. As you all know, our theme is technique and technology, but a key element of this trilogy is teamwork, without which all the techniques fails and all the technology go down the drain. So the most important key element of this trilogy, we have here with us Dr. Dhiren Ganjwala, who will be talking about team building, and she'll be assisted by Miss Viju Punjabi. She's here. We welcome them. Thank you.
Good afternoon, friends. We have a slight change in the program. Initially, it was a full 3 hours workshop, but today we have made it only 1.5 hours. With me, I will introduce Viju Punjabi. She is a human resource personnel, and she has conducted so many such workshops, and she has given a lot of input in designing this workshop. So thank you, Viju, for that. Straight away we go to our question first. Why do we need a team? Most of us are working independently, I am sure. The question is why do we need a team? Can I have the sisters? Yeah, please come forward. Why do we need team? Sir?
To share the responsibility.
To share the responsibility, okay. Yes? Vaibhav, you are already in a team, so why you need a team? Oh, right. Can you elaborate on that? Right.
And as you said, there's no I in team.
Right.
Whenever you have to have a success, handle failure, you need a team to put you in the right spot.
Okay. Fine. Let's start with a small exercise. I will give you 2 minutes to write down the name of cities of Maharashtra. In 2 minutes, try to write down as many names as possible about Maharashtra. स्पीकर को ऑन करना है वीडियो वाले को कहाँ है कंट्रोल इसका वीडियो को करना है Okay, fine. Who has more than 10 names? Very good. Very good. Good. Okay, now a simple question or a simple point. If all 4 of you are working together, I am sure that you will have more than 10 names. Right? So definitely that's one of the advantage how team helps. The question which you will put forward is the teamwork increases the option which is with us, and definitely when we have a more option, we have a better solution. So that's one of the advantage of team. But I am sure that you will say that now with the Google, we really don't need such expertise, because Google will definitely give us some more information much more quicker than we can ask our colleague. Yeah, that's true. But if we look at this, sure that all of you are aware about this, and this is not possible to reach the target, is not possible without teamwork. So when we have a Herculean task or a mammoth task, we definitely need a team. This is not possible. Is there anyone in the audience who can do it single-handedly? So basically that's one reason why we need team when we have a difficult task to carry out. We need a lot of people to work together, and then only we are able to achieve our target. Now I am giving you two options. You have to select which option you want to prefer. The first option is like you are going on a road and someone come to you and ask, sir, what is the time? So something like that. This is one option. And the second option is, if you have a capability, if you have a facility available, and if you can build a tower like this, where people over years can see the time. So these are the two options. The one is to tell a person a time in a minute, and the second option is to build a tower. Sir, what would you prefer?
Of course, tower.
Of course, tower. Is there anyone who would prefer to do, or would prefer to just tell a time? No one. So all of us have a desire, keen desire, to build a tower, to do something worthwhile so that society remembers us after 20 years, 30 years down the line. Fine. So now there is another exercise. Think of something significant you want to achieve from your life, so that people remember you after 20 years, 30 years. Just try to find out 3 activities you would like to carry out. Yes, sir. Jain sir. Yeah. What do you think? The first, second, third option?
Yes, I would like to be known as a good teacher, good surgeon, good innovator,
Right.
good human being.
Okay, right. So you want to carry out this significant thing from your life?
Oh yes.
Okay, very good. Yes, sir. What about you?
First, I would like to set up a department of orthopedics in a hospital,
Very good.
which I would think is ideal, and I have some ideas of ideal orthopedic department.
Okay, right.
Second would be
Yeah, you are right. You want to set up a department, but what is your desire actually? It is something I am sure much more than that. It's not just only a department. You want something more.
then I can train residents
Okay, right.
for the future.
Very good. So, like train the next generation so that people remember you. The good student will remember you for the teaching,
For the society.
and they also remember you for the punishment which you give them. Okay. Yes. What would you like to do?
I would like to be a good doctor and a good surgeon.
Good doctor, good surgeon, innovators, something like that. Yes, sir.
Well, I'd like to build on my foundation which I have for children who are abandoned, and I'd like to bring up my children with correct moral values that people remember the father who brought them up.
Okay. Great. Great. I really appreciate your desire and your foundation. Yes, sir. What about you? What do you think?
Yeah, to spread the message, goodwill and harmony, and working together,
Okay.
set the target and try to achieve.
Excellent. Now the simple question: can you achieve this, your desire, single-handedly? Can you achieve that?
Not even close.
Okay. What about you, sir?
No, single-handedly nothing. can-
Nothing. And sir, what about you? Because
Absolutely. Yeah. You cannot achieve single.
you cannot achieve. Ganjwala sir,
Yeah.
you can achieve?
No.
No. Fine. So basically, we need to work in team, and these are the reasons why we need a team. John Maxwell, the management guru, has said a wonderful statement. To achieve something significant in life, one is too small a number. And once we start appreciating them, only we will be able to understand the importance of team. Unfortunately, we are not trained in our medical college about teamwork. We are taught anatomy, physiology, everything, but we are not taught about this important subject. And that is the reason why we are here to discuss something about this. Okay, so what is team building? In simple words, I would say that team building is nothing but to improve the efficacy and efficiency of team. We will keep a simple definition, and that's the only aim of team building. Okay, how many of you are or have been in a team now or in the past? Okay, good. Yes, now the question is, what problem do you face now or did you face in the past? I am sure that all those who are in the team or you are in the team, were in the team, must have faced some or the other challenge. Yes, sir.
Fund collection, collecting money and working against the government to, problem is abandoned children.
Right.
I used to work with SORC, which is a Society of Friends of Sassoon Hospital, and the government would start giving these abandoned children away to private organizations who would then in turn, literally for cash, give them up for adoption, and we wanted to keep them and bring them up with ourselves. So
No, that's right, sir. That is a problem you are facing as far as the activity is concerned. I am trying to ask you a question like, when you were working in a team, which problem really bothers you?
Controversial opinions of different people, different brains.
Controversial opinion of different brain, right? Yes.
And conflict among team members.
Conflict about the team members, yes.
The same one. They're basically, I mean, all the others, I mean, have, I mean, you know, the different opinions of
Different
mind,
opinion.
of their mind.
Yes, sir.
It's an Herculean task to keep everyone together for a long time. In a short time, it is different.
Right.
For a long time, to keep everyone happy and to keep in the team is very difficult job.
Right. Yes. Sir, what is the difficulty or the challenges which you face in the
Many times
to share the money? Yes, absolutely right.
To keep them happy. Because then junior, senior people and share the money is become a big problem. To keep everyone happy in every way.
Yeah.
Work-wise, money-wise, job-wise, all that.
Absolutely right. Yes.
So many times there are a lot of ego issues also when there are 5 or 10 people coming together and working under one roof. So even managing that, it's many times a headache.
Okay, so all of us are thinking in a direction that conflict, difference of opinion, lot of opinion, and how to come to a particular judgment is a bigger challenge when we are in a team.
Inequality of potentials, inequality of competence,
Right.
and individual ego helps us.
Yeah, absolutely right. So ultimately that leads to a conflict, and working together is not always easy.
Some people are as horny as that.
Exactly. When the conflict occurs, we realize that even we are human beings, we are as horny as this animal. You are right. And this is a very common scenario, whether we accept it or not. This type of conflict is a very common scenario. So, what is conflict? Let's understand in a simple word. We don't want a dictionary definition. What is conflict? Difference of opinion. Very good. Difference of opinion, right?
When one member of a team tries to frustrate the achievement of goal of another member.
Okay, right. Yes. Yes, would you like to add on to this conflict definition?
pulling legs of each other.
Pulling legs of each other, right?
That's the result of
Yeah, that's the result of it. Absolutely right. So basically, the views and the desire of one party or one person don't agree with that of others. That's basically the source of conflict. It can be a variety of reasons for that, but ultimately, in simple words, it's about that. Like, I don't agree with the sir's opinion or the views, and then when we try to say that my views is correct, that probably is a source of conflict. In addition to that, there are many other sources also. When there is a resources are less, there is a conflict. The other thing is like when there is only one post and 2 or 3 people are really wanting to reach to that post, ultimately that is again a source of conflict. So these are the various sources of conflict. Okay. So now what are the common causes of conflict in your practice? So this is what we discuss about theory. Now we would like to know what are the real causes of conflict in your practice. What you said is more of a theory. Now we want actually what is happening in the practice.
The micro environment, micro discipline of each person is different from the other.
Right.
Usually conflict is not so gross that people start shouting at each other. But they don't wake up at the same time. They don't attend work on the same dot of time. Then they don't work as efficiently as other people do. Nobody says anything to anybody. But then the whole efficiency of the environment sinks down gradually because of animosity internally generated towards each other.
Right. Okay.
One important point, which is extraneous point in medical practice, is how patients are receiving individual members of the team. So for example, 3 people are practicing together or 5 people practicing together. There will always be somebody who will be more favored by the patients than others, and these are the situations where the conflict would start. Where the factors are not endogenous, they're exogenous,
Exogenous,
from
right.
outside the team. And especially in a medical practice, that does happen, that would happen.
Absolutely right. Yeah. Yes.
Most important thing in teamwork is trust.
Right.
So the trust between people, the trust of the colleagues, that is the one which
Can we have a cordless?
lack of trust.
Yeah. Sir, in a minute I will give you. Yeah.
Over a period of time, people lose trust between the colleagues, and you feel there's something going on in the back without your knowledge. And when the team is there for some time together, for the more longer time you are together, the more the trust becomes very important. So team building is all about trust between mutual trust. That's the most important thing to keep the team together.
Right. So now we have one option is like when the exogenous source, when it's not the internal source, but when patient demand or like favor one doctor over the other team member, then that's a source of conflict. Yes, sir.
When there is overlapping of the responsibilities among the members, staff
Okay.
members, they always want to shift their responsibility to somebody else and blame it for failures are blamed to other people.
I was expecting you to do the same thing and fine. Yes, madam. Yeah.
When you have different personalities working together, so that's the time conflict comes in. That's one point. 2 is when you have competition and it's not healthy. So that's the time conflict comes in. And 3 is when you have difference in values and behaviors because your upbringing is different. So that's the time the conflict will come in. So I would say there are a couple of causes that can actually bring in the conflict.
Right. Yeah. So now actually, what all the points which we discuss about the have a fixed idea about the value, about the responsibility, then the trust. These are the very important factor. Because of the shortage of time, we are not going to go into that. But we are going to look at this problem in a completely different way. What we are going to do is, we are going to carry out an exercise. But before that, I want you to answer from your personal experience. What are the negative effects of conflict? Be frank enough to accept like there must be a negative effect on your personal life. Yes?
Attrition goes very high. For an HR professional, when there is conflict in an organization, the attrition rate is high. So that's what I would say, the negative effects. The attendance gets low, motivation gets low, then the feeling of togetherness to work together becomes very low. So the negative effects of conflict are many actually.
Right, yeah. Anyone would like to share the personal experience?
You lose the internal bondings between your two people.
Internal bondings between the two. Yeah, see, the first thing which we come across is a breakdown of communication. Like we don't become frank enough to discuss the various views. This is one thing. The second thing, if it's a more severe, then we try to avoid that person. Let's not go to this person because he is always angry. He is always ready to have a conflict. So we try to avoid those persons. Sometimes I am sure that we are doctors, so naturally we don't go to this level. But I have seen even the doctors going to this extent. In Ahmedabad, we had a doctor who had fired against his colleague. So that's possible even with medical fraternity also. And the most important thing is the loss of cooperation, collaboration. That's one of the important thing which may not be evident, but if you look at closely at micro level, definitely there will be this issue. And sometimes the people lose interest. They don't really want to actually participate in the discussion. They don't want to give their inputs. The reason is because they know that if I put X point, the other person is going to argue that. And one important thing is, whenever we have such bad event in the life, our mind is always go on ruminating that incident. It's like a unwanted TV advertisement which comes at every 15 minutes, whether we want it or not. And we go on thinking about those bad incident which has taken place quite often. Even that may be like for 15 years, 20 years. I am sure that one or the other colleague might be telling to you about a past incident which has happened before 15 years. But still the memory of that incident is really fresh in our mind, and that's our weakness of mind. Okay, so, and the another important thing which I have seen, that the problem or the conflict at workplace does not remain restricted to that. It also spreads to other area in the family life also. How many of you have faced that problem? The problem is at the workplace, but then you try to punish your wife or a spouse or a children for the problem at the workplace.
We have seen the other way also.
Okay, right.
Percolate down into the work.
Right, okay, so naturally it goes to the patient also, but that's a practice, but it also goes to outside the workplace, and even the family members are also affected because of that.
Outside problems with an individual,
right,
percolating to the
in the workplace also, yeah, it's a two-way channel. It's two-way channel. Okay, so now we go to our exercise. How many of you have a paper of that exercise with you? Yeah, it's a, yeah, we have, yeah, this one. The one which has 30 questions. Excuse me, this gentleman, yeah, here. Okay, see, it's a simple questionnaire. What you need to do is, like, there are 30 questions. You just have to spend 30 seconds on each question and try to answer that question humbly. Means, like, try to be frank enough to answer whatever you feel appropriate for that particular situation. Yeah, like when there is like conflict in your mind, like which one, whether to select A or B, try to select only one. Don't tick on both the options. Yeah, they are repetition. Absolutely, you are right. There is a repetition, but the repetition is purposeful. We want to make sure how consistent you are in your selection.
Almost all questions are...
Yeah, they are repetitions, sir.
No, they mean exactly same thing. Statement A means same thing, B means same thing.
No, sir, it's not like that. We will come to that.
Every pair has one similar, one similar.
Yeah, but still try to select the option which you feel appropriate for that question. Sir, please tick on the question because we have to score it also. So we will be giving you scoring sheet in next 5 minutes. Yeah, there is a repetition. Yeah, we know it. But still, at the different options are there. Yeah, exactly. Okay. No, keep it with you. Keep it with you. No, keep yeah. Yeah, you. It's going to be with you only, because definitely you can use it for some future purpose also. That we will describe later on. Okay, fine. Now what we are going to do, we are going to circulate the scoring sheet also. Yeah, we have more. Whatever answer you have given, try to put in this scoring sheet. Sir, what you said is absolutely right. Like one option is like whether you would prefer ice cream versus dessert. The second would be like whether you would prefer ice cream versus apple. So you may say like the apple is coming 4 times, but every time the options which are given, they are different. Yeah. Yeah, madam. So according to question, try to put a mark over here. So like if you have question number 1, if you have selected A, then in the scoring sheet, try to make a circle on the A. Yeah. So it's clear, right? Yes. Question second, just Sir, you don't have a scoring sheet. Yeah. Viju, can you have 2 scoring sheets?
Everybody has started.
Yes. Yes, how many of you are ready? Very good. Okay, fine. Just make a total of each column. So on this, like we just have to make a total, like how many points you have. So in the bottom line, we have a space where we can add on the points. Like suppose you have circled 5 in that column, just write down 5. The total of all the 5 columns should be 30. Yes, would you like to tell about your score?
In column 1, I have 0.
Yeah, just there is a name of that column.
Yeah, in competing, I have 0.
Just I will give you a mic. Yeah.
Thank you. In competing, I have 0. In accommodative, I have 6, avoiding 3, collaborative 12, and compromising 9.
Excellent. So your major style is collaborative. Yeah, and in addition to that, you have some minor styles also.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. The 1 point is like the competing is 0. 0. Okay. Yes.
So the scores I've got is competing as 6, accommodating as 8, avoiding as 4, collaborative as 8, and compromising as 4.
4. So your major is collaborative and accommodative. Good. Yeah, you were the first one to complete. So
competing 0, accommodative 9, avoiding 4, collaborative 9, and compromising 8.
okay. Yeah. One more. Yeah, please.
So competing is 1, accommodative is 7, avoiding 3, collaborative 8, and compromising is 11.
Right. Good. So many of us have like 2 skills or the 2 styles as a parallel. Like only the sir had 12 in the accommodation, sorry, in the collaborative. Yeah, your was 12, the highest score. Which would you like to add something on, like the people, some of them have a 1, 2 or 0. Would you like to add on that?
So basically, Dr. Ganjwala will take you all through the meaning of everything. But these are 5 different styles when it comes to conflict resolution. And it's important, I mean, it will be useful for you to look at what are the uses of the style in which you have 0, 1, 2. Because those are the style, that is the use or that is the area where you will need to maybe get aware that this is also another way to handle a situation.
What is the ideal score for each one of them?
There isn't an ideal
There is
score.
not an ideal score. No, it's not
Or
an
a
ideal
range,
score.
so to say.
That we will come to, like what is the importance of each style, that we will see.
See,
But
there is nothing like an ideal score. Each one of us will have a preferred style and we'll have other styles which we do not use. The idea is to build awareness as to what is our preferred style, to understand what are the uses of the other style. So when we are in those situations, we can consciously use those styles. That way we build our breadth of styles, and we know how we can handle conflict, better.
Right? We will come to that. We will come to that. We will understand the importance of each style. Yes?
When you are head of the institution or your organization, you are not competing with anybody. You want the conflict resolution among your staff members or other people. So naturally, your competing score will be the list.
Okay. No, we will come to that. What is by competing, we understand that we will come to there in a minute. But don't go with like you are competing with other person. But what we actually understand by competing, that we will see.
Actually, it could be unconscious. As head of an institute or head of a department, you could just be actually issuing instructions, which because of your role, people will be complying with. So that would be one way.
Resolve the conflict among the members.
Correct. So that may not resolve the conflict among the members, but they may decide to go ahead with whatever is the solution the person is offering. So competing basically is about saying that actually let's go through the slides and we will address these things so that I'm not going back and forth, in the...
Okay, so let's start with the first style. Basically, before that, our style is basically not fixed one. So don't go with the idea that if you have a collaborative score, then all the time you are going to have that pattern. The style may change according to the situation. So that's very important, that if I am a competing person, I may not be competing all the time. But that's my major style. And most of the time I will behave in that way. But I may behave differently depending on the situation. Basically, this style affects the conflict to a great extent. You will understand like how actually conflict when there are two parties, which style they are adopting, and that will give you a more depth knowledge about how actually the conflict is taking place and why we are not able to reach to the resolution. So this exercise has a very powerful effect on understanding the conflict, both about like your role as well as the other person's role. So style depends on two things. Basically, whenever there is a conflict, we have our own view. So we try to satisfy our own views or the desire. So that is first thing. And the second thing, there is a other person's concern or the desire. So there are two things. So if we draw that on a X line, there is a my concern. It is low on this side, high on the other. On the y-axis, we have a other person's concern. Low over here, high over here. So now let's see how the different style person will have a different concern. Let's take the first one, the competing. How many of you have a maximum score in competing? Right, 8, 1, 2, 3. Okay, good, good. So basically these are the style where you are concerned more about your own goal or your own agenda than the other person's agenda. This is basically the style. So we call it them as a dominant person, or sometimes we call them very aggressive. And the SORC question, like those people who are competing, basically they try to decide themselves. They always believe that I must win the game. When there is a conflict, they try to behave in a way that what I say is right, what I believe is right, and I must win the game by any means. So that is what the competing style is. This is usually the picture for that. I must win, even other has to lose, I don't mind. So that's the competing style. Let's see two videos which will give you idea about what actually or how the behavior of that competing style person will be. These are basically from the first is Humko Deewana Kar Gaye. It's a Hindi Bollywood movie. And in that Bipasha Basu and Akshay Kumar, they are going in a flight. They are husband and wife. And look at the behavior of Bipasha Basu.
बस बस बेटा
ये बच्चे रोते हुए कितने अच्छे लगते हैं। लेकिन हम इन्हें सोते हुए अच्छे नहीं लगते. I तो can't understand. ये लोग इतने छोटे बच्चों को लेकर क्यों ट्रैवल करते हैं?
हाँ, जैसे तुम अपने बच्चों को घर छोड़ के आ जाओगी ना.
Of course. देखो बात हो रही है इसलिए I think I should make it clear to you. शादी के 5-6 साल तक मुझे नहीं लगता हमें बच्चों के बारे में सोचना चाहिए. This is the time for our careers. And I don't think we are ready for kids. At least I'm not.
So that's the typical way, the behavior of competing person. Like she decided unilaterally that we are not going to have kids for next 5 years. So I am sure that you must now try to recollect, and you must have come across lot of people who put their views so firmly that it has to be this way only. Let's go to the second video, which is Kabhi Khushi Kabhi Gum, a famous movie. It is between Amitabh and Jaya.
राहुल, तुम इतनी जल्दी वापस कैसे आ गए?
ये सोसाइटी पार्टीज बहुत बोरिंग होती है.
अच्छा, तो इन बातों पर तुम बिल्कुल अपने पापा पर नहीं गए, क्योंकि तुम्हारे पापा को ये सब पार्टीज बहुत अच्छी लगा करती थी. वहाँ बहुत सी लड़कियाँ हुआ करती थी. लड़कियों को देख के बहुत खुश हुआ करते थे तुम्हारे पापा.
अगर मैं उन खूबसूरत लड़कियों को देखता तो आप कहाँ से आते?
तुमने क्या किया? तुम्हारे पिताजी नंदिनी को ढूंढ कर लाए. जब उन्होंने पहली बार नंदिनी को देखा, बहुत खुश हुए और कहने लगे, मुझे ये रिश्ता मंजूर है, लेकिन दहेज देना पड़ेगा. बहू को बाबुल के घर से ढेर सारा प्यार और एक लंबी सी सीढ़ी लानी पड़ेगी. परंपरा तो अच्छी है, घर के बड़े घर की बहू ढूंढ लाते हैं, वरना इन पगलों का क्या भरोसा.
क्या? नहीं माता जी, वो तो तब की बात थी. आजकल तो सब कुछ बदल गया है.
कुछ नहीं बदला नंदिनी.
जी आजकल तो बच्चे खुद ही.
कुछ नहीं बदला नंदिनी.
मेरे कहने का मतलब.
कुछ नहीं बदला.
जी वो
कहती है ना, बस कह दिया.
Yes, how many of you have faced such person like Amitabh? Keh diya, so keh diya. Yes, can you share your experience?
I have faced some people, even if they themselves feel that they are wrong, but they will still like to stick to their views.
Yeah, exactly.
And in this situation, I feel that I also must stick to my own views. But otherwise my score is too.
Right, good. Yeah. Anyone would like to share their? Yeah, please.
So this was a time when I was. At that time, I had completed 7 years of service, and I had an option to continue for another 3 years. But somehow during those 7 years, I had hardly been able to spend, time together with my husband, who was also in Navy. So when the time came to decide, should I go for another extension of 3 years, he just said, no way, because it's very difficult to manage transfers all the time. But somewhere I wanted to continue. Denial was so strong that, I just couldn't think over it. Probably if I had an option, I would have continued, and now the permanent commission. So somewhere there's a regret at that time.
Right, yeah. So basically now, retrospectively, we can always try to reconnect with the conflict area or the situations where we have a similar type of people. Let's try to understand the situation. I'm going to give you one situation, the clinical situation, like we have a case discussion. He is a young doctor. He has recently joined one in a practice. He has both the private practice and he is attached to a corporate hospital. He has operated one patient at corporate hospital, and his professional fee was in the tune of 60 rupees. Usually the procedure is like at the end of month, you receive the full payment of whatever professional fee you have carried out at that hospital. Now, for 2 months, he has not received a payment from that hospital. So now let's see how different people would take a different stand. So let's start with the first style, that's a competing. How competing person would behave in this situation? There were 3 people who had more votes in the competing, so they probably would be able to relate easily. Yeah, who were the 3 people with a, yeah, sir, how would you?
In this particular contingency, I would stick to my third trait of avoiding.
Okay, right. So that's the important thing. Like even if we have high marks in the competing, depending on the situation, we may take a different style. So it's not like all the time you are going to have that style. So the situation is equally important. Good. But can anyone say like how the competing person would behave in this situation? Yes?
He will go to the CEO of that corporate hospital and going to fire him.
Yeah, exactly. So that's how the competing person will behave. He will go to the either CEO or the account department and he would say, I want my payment right away. Right? So these are basically the style of these people. But don't think that because you have a competing style, maximum mark, you are going to have the same style or the situation in every place. But usually this is how the competing person would behave. Okay, now it's very important that competing mode is also very useful in some of the situation. It's not like it is bad all the time. There are few situations in the life where we really need a competing mode. And that is the first is when we want a quick decision. When there is an emergency, when we have to make a quick decision, in that case, you can't go and ask everyone. You have to decide yourself. So at that particular point of time, like the competing personality or the style definitely has a role to play. The second is the very common situation when you are head and you want to implement some rules. You really need to be this style. If you try to go on and ask everyone's opinion, they would not allow you to do that. So when you want to implement some discipline, in that case, you need to take this style also. And particularly like when you realize that for so many months, so many years, people are taking my disadvantage. And then ultimately at one point you decide to rebel. And in that case also you will take a stand of competing. Most of the union problems, they are taking this style. The reason is because they feel that the management is not looking after our issues. Now, there are some problem also. Those who are having a competing style, there are some disadvantage also. So the first one is like, usually you are surrounded by yes men. Because you are very autocratic and people really don't like to argue with you. So usually you are surrounded by yes men. And when you are surrounded by yes men, you will not receive the correct perspective of a situation. You will not get a 360-degree feedback. So that's one problem. And ultimately, over a period of time, someone has a question, like if I have a competing style all the time as a head of the department, in that case, probably your team member will not like it. Because they will feel that he's just taking all the decisions and he's not asking us. Okay, next we come to a second style, which is exactly opposite to the competing. And in that case, it's basically accommodating. So what is that accommodative style? The person is ready to sacrifice his own desire, his own views. So that's known as a self-sacrifice mode. That is either to let go the conflict or to give up his own ideas so that there is no harmony, there is no loss of peace or harmony in the team. So this style also has some advantage. Usually, like if you have seen many kids when we are small and when parents would say something, even if we don't like, we try to accept their view. So that is another situation where we don't like, but still we accept it because there is a power in front of us. And sometimes the same type of people, we obey the people because we cannot argue. We just accept the decision. So these are like usually when we, in a situations where we use this style. Now what are the problem? Like if you go on following the same style, accommodating all the time, what long-term issue? Anyone having a more mark in this accommodative style? More than 8? Yes, Pradeep. What are the, like your real life experience about this style?
I think people may start taking advantages of your accommodative style.
Okay, people will start taking advantage of your accommodative style. True. Anyone? Yeah.
The relations will last longer in accommodative people.
Right, the relation will last longer. But I'm asking about like something which happens to you in a long run. Peace of mind. Yes, Rishi.
You start feeling bottled up. I mean, all your emotions are inside and you don't can express.
Absolutely right. Like usually we maintain the relation. That's good. We consider that we are preserving the harmony of the group, the peace of the group. But over a period of time, we come to know why I should let go every time. That is what you exactly said. You start like what Pradeep said. My views are not being like heard well. Every time I have to give up. So the second feeling which we get is I am not getting the right attention in the team. Or in a long run, you feel that I am not able to contribute because no one is listening to my ideas or my views. So these are the negative consequences of this style. Coming to this doctor, like how this doctor will behave in this situation. Yes, Pradeep, how would you behave in this situation?
I would still go in here. I will use a competitive mode.
Okay. When it comes to money, you would definitely take a competitive mode. Okay. Can you imagine like what will be the behavior of person in this style? Right. So usually they would adopt that style. Ke jaane do, mil jayega next month. Or like if you operate 10 patients, sometimes we lose also. It's not all the time we get our payment. बिजनेस में तो काफी बार ऐसा होता है. वी आर फॉर्चुनेट कि हम तो लाइक मेरे साथ तो किसी भी टाइम और बहुत कम टाइम ऐसा होता है. सो यूजुअली वी ट्राई टू पुट दैट टाइप ऑफ सोलेस टू अवर माइंड. ओके, कमिंग टू द थर्ड type, that's a avoiding situation. Now what is avoiding? Usually it's like in a low for both the category, both our own desire and for the other desire. Is there anyone with this scoring system more in this style, avoiding? More than 5 or more than 6 in that category? How many? 8 in avoiding style. Okay. Fine. Usually these style, we don't really want to take up the matter. We just want to postpone the decision. We just want to postpone it for a while. There are various reasons for that, but usually we don't take up the decision on the spot. We just say that hota hai, chalta hai, itme kya jalbazi hai. Sometimes we definitely diplomatically don't interfere with the conflict. The reason is because we think that it's not really that important matter and we really don't need to interfere in the conflict. Or sometimes like we are really so frustrated with the situation and we say that I can't do anything, let me withdraw myself from this conflict. So these are the 3 situations where we use this style. The use of avoiding style is like when we say that this issue is not really important. Or sometimes, as I said, that we don't want to waste our time in the conflict, so we adopt this style. The same incident, like 2 days back, I was going for a surgery, and there was a small accident, and there was a scratch on my car. I was really in a hurry. I had a loss of around, like, say, 2,000 or 3,000 rupees, but I decided to accept this avoiding style. The only reason is because I was in hurry and I wanted to reach to the destination. Yeah, emergency से adjust हो जाएगा. Yeah, that could be the another way of looking at the situation. Yeah, loss engage ratio. Yeah, or the return of, no, sorry, the loss benefit or the cost benefit ratio. Yeah, absolutely right. But the situation was completely different. I was trying to avoid the situation, but other person was in a competing mode. So even I was not really keen for going for any problem or any conflict. That person really took me for that problem. So it's not all the time you go for an avoiding style and the problem will be over. It depends on the other party also. Okay, now how this doctor will behave in this situation?
A lot of the 5 choices will depend. We are assuming everything is working with someone at par, but very often you're not only dealing with a colleague, you're dealing with someone far senior or junior to you. If the kid has got his job or attachment to the hospital 2 months ago, he will keep his mouth shut and run for life. If he's the head of department and this is the 8th time it's happened, then he will take it up with the manager.
Absolutely. So it's a situation which is going to decide which style you are going to apply. Yeah, absolutely right. So it's not that because you have a more mark in the collaborative, you are going to follow that style every time.
So this guy is a fresher, you said. He's just...
Yeah, he's just started his practice.
He's going to just smile and pretend nothing has happened and wait for next month's check and pray.
Yeah, exactly. So that is what he is going to do. That I can't go to the CEO or the account department and I can't put forward my views or my desire for the immediate payment. Yeah, exactly. So he would just let the situation as it is. Yeah. So what are the problems of avoiding style? Usually the decisions are then people start taking you granted and the situation will not improve because you are not acting on it. The second thing, the problem continues to fester. And sometimes it really creates a bigger issue because you are not taking active interest in the problem and you are just remaining silent or blind to that. So ultimately the problem will fester. And the most important thing, the people surrounding you, they will lose interest because you are not acting upon. Ultimately they will start realizing that there is no point of putting forward any issue with this person. Coming to the 4th style, collaborative, how many of you have a maximum mark in that? Oh, great. Great. So here it's a win-win situation. We are also considering the other person's views and we respect that also. So it's not only our gain, but we are also trying to look at the other person's gain and then we try to find out win-win situation. Now, can you please raise your hand again? Where you have used this collaborative style, we would like to know where you have used this mode. Yes?
There's something also called as role playing, because many times, suppose there's a situation in the hospital, so your reaction, though your original personality may be different, but you respond because who you are. So if you are an intern, you respond in a different way. If you are a house surgeon, well, you may be very competitive, but still you would accept it. And if you are the boss, so it also it depends on your role, which role you are playing, and that is why you collaborate. So depending on the situation, you try to put your personality first in a way that the problem is solved.
Yeah, what I'm looking for is like any example of real life where you have shown this style in practice. There was a conflict and then you acted in a collaborative way. Can you tell that example? Right. Right. No, but how would you collaborate?
Yeah, okay. Now that you say that you are getting late and now we can't induce the case and therefore you say, okay, but tomorrow will you please give me 2 cases? This is my adjusted to them.
Okay.
They are adjusting to me. It's a collaborative.
Okay, good. So today we are postponing the case, but tomorrow we are going to take 2. Whatever may be the delay, but we are going to take 2 cases. Good. So that's one example. Yeah.
You are right in your place, I am right in my place.
Yeah, but any example? Any example of that in a situation? Yes?
The other day I was taking a round in my hospital with my assistant and there was a patient operated previous day who was running fever and chills. Now he said this could be malaria. I very well knew that this was not malaria, but just sterile aseptic pyrexia of some sort. So he said we'll do MP and CBC and platelet count and all that. So I knew that this was wrong suggestion, but I said, okay, go ahead and do it. All the same, the patient was going to spend. Even then I collaborated with him to have the test done. And patient asked me whether it is a right suspicion. I said no. So this goes on all the time.
Yeah, sir, I would tend to say that this is not collaborative. This is basically you are accommodating the other physician's view. He said X or the malaria and you accept it, fine. Even though you are knowing that it is not malaria, you are accommodating his views. So this is not collaboration. Okay, coming to that, like this is a situation, the two animals, they were trying to eat the grass, and like because of the rope, they cannot go on either side. So ultimately they get tired. But instead of that, they try to find out a solution like this. Both of them, they go to one side, eat the grass, and then they come on the other side, and then they enjoy the other side also. This is collaboration. It is win-win for both. So this is what we are looking from collaborative style. How this doctor will behave in this situation? Right, that is the next style we are coming to that. But usually he will try to go to the department, try to find out the reason for the delay, and he will try to solve or will try to understand the other party's problem also. So
whether the third party has given the money or not.
yeah, exactly. So usually like in this case, the insurance company has not passed the full payment, and that's why the account department was not giving. So he will try to find out the real reason into that. So basically, let me give you one incident of the St. Stephen Hospital. My friend, Dr. Matthew Verghese, he was a superintendent of this hospital. And there was a worker, the sweeper, who was alcoholic. And because of alcoholism problem, he was not coming for 15 days in a month. So every day he will have one solid episode of alcohol intake. And then the remaining day he will remain absent. So actually management want to dismiss that person. But as soon as they decided that we want to dismiss that person, the union leader came and said, sir, I would request you not to dismiss him. So now if in this case, my friend, if he takes a competing mode, he would say that the discipline is the most important thing, and outright he will throw that person. He will not listen to the union leader. But the request of union leader was to give him one chance. So they decided, so in that case, he adopted a different style. He became a bit accommodative to that request. So he said that fine, let's see, at the end of 1 month, we will meet again and we will see the situation. At the end of 1 month, the problem was same. He remained absent for 50% of the days, means 15 days he was absent. So now the question is, what needs to be done? Now he has to take decision. So in that case, he said that now we can't keep this person, we have to dismiss him. So at that point, the union leader said, sir, रहने दो ने, उनकी बीबी है और छोटे-छोटे बच्चे हैं. At that point, this medical superintendent, my friend, Dr. Matthew, he said that, let me do one thing. We will definitely resign or ask that person to resign or dismiss him. But we will give a job to his wife. And immediately the union leader accepted that solution. Because both the parties are now winning in this situation. So that's actually the collaboration is. And that's very important, and that gives him a lot of mileage as a medical superintendent. So we really need to find out such situations, such solutions, and that will definitely make the conflict part really less. So collaborative process consists of few steps. The first is we have to listen. As a problem, we have a problem that we don't actually listen to the opposite party. We need to understand other person's view, which is known as empathy. If we can understand other person's views, then most of the problem of lives can be solved. That's by empathy. Then we really need to carry out a brainstorming and to find out newer options and sometimes creative solutions. So this is actually the process is. But there are negative points also. We can't find solutions all the time. It is desirable, but it's not possible all the time. And really, it's a time consuming, because to listen, to apply our minds, to brainstorm, that requires time. And all the time, we can't go for this option or this style in a practice. And coming to the last style is compromising. When two strong people, when they have a conflict and then they cannot reach to the solution, they will accept, like at 50% they would have a compromise. This is usually the things which happen when we go to a hill station and when we go to buy a shovel. He will say 1,000 rupees. We will say 600 rupees. And then in between we will have a settlement, and at 800 rupees we will decide to buy. So this is usually the compromising style, and many times in conflict we have to adopt this style. So basically partial satisfaction to both the party. So usually this situation is seen when two strong competing persons, they are fighting, and when they can't reach the solution, we use this style. Sometimes we use it for the temporary settlement. I will give you one example of that, the temporary settlement. Again, from the same hospital, St. Stephen Hospital. The medical superintendent wanted to introduce a barcode system on each medical test, laboratory test which we advise. Now the laboratory staff came that this is really time consuming. Every time we have to apply barcode on the test tube. So that will take a lot of time. And they came with a request that please don't adopt this system. So now he can take a different way of managing the things. If he take a competitive style, what he will do? Go ahead, we are going to implement that. If he take a accommodative style, then right. Yeah, exactly. He used almost the similar option in this case. He said that fine, I am not suggesting that we are going to adopt this permanently. But what I will do is like, let's try this for 1 month. And at the end of 1 month, if you are really happy with that, that this is really helping you, then we will go ahead with this system. And actually the result is in 15 days, the laboratory staff came and said that this really reduces our task and we want to adopt this system. So initially he used compromising style and ultimately he reached to the final desired decision which he wanted. We will skip this because we are running. So now basically this is a self-awareness exercise. We are trying to understand which style we are using for a particular conflict. Try to go home, try to analyze the situation, any conflict, and try to see which style you are adopting. Also, we can know the team member's style also. And when you know that the other person is in a competing mode, you have to tackle the situation differently. So you can understand that. So that's the reason, like, please take this scoring sheet as well as the main questionnaire and try to carry out the same thing with your team, and you will be able to understand your team members well. You will be able to understand the conflict situation very easily, and then depending on the situation, we can practice different style. It's not necessary that one style is better than the other, but depending on that, we can select a particular style, and we can find out a newer solutions. The one important thing, we can use this questionnaire or this method in other relation also. It's not only for the workplace. You can use it at home also, because conflict is universal. Whether it's a workplace or home, everywhere we have a problem. What I understand is like the team with a conflict is like going uphill, and the car is spending, or the team is spending a lot of energy in going uphills. So once we take care of the conflict, then definitely the situation or the behavior of the team or the efficiency of the team will improve. So I would end with a talk. Coming together is a beginning. Working together is a progress. But remaining together is a success. I think someone said this point in the beginning of the session, So that's true. Remaining together without conflict is a success. Thank you very much. And the remaining part of the session, that's emotional intelligence, that I'm going to cover in the keynote address. Thank you very much. Yeah, exactly.
Dr. Ganjwala,
Yeah.
the human nature is by default. Whatever my nature, if I am stubborn, I will remain stubborn because it goes with our body at the end. Then how you can expect?
Okay, very good question. Like, if my personality is stubborn, fine. If you really want to improve the situation, want to find out better options, then sometimes we need to change the style. Yeah, otherwise, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Even after certain years of experience and age, everybody changes his style.
Yeah,
when
exactly.
you are young, you are really want to exert your opinion, and as you progress further, then you realize what are the problems, and then you become more of adaptive.
Yeah, samay jo sikhata hai. Time is the best teacher. Yes, sir. Yeah, experience.
My colleague joined me in 1974 and it's still today with me.
Congratulations, sir.
My,
That's a great achievement.
my another colleague joined me in 1985 and is still today with me.
Yeah, so that's very important thing, and we know your nature, sir, and that's the reason your nature as a leader is probably very important for.
All three of us have grown.
Yeah, exactly.
I grew and they remain as subsidiaries. No, all three of us have grown.
And the very important thing, like when you are trying to select a team member, the person you want to include in your team, if you carry out this assessment, then probably that will give you a lot of insight like how the group is going to behave. Because there are many people, I am sure that he must have left you 2 years, 3 years down the line. No? Good, good.
The whole group as such.
Yeah. Okay, that's really great.
My working staff is with me since 37 years.
Okay. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Okay, thank you very much once again for joining in this session. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ganjwala, and I think you truly deserve an applause. Thank you. Thank you to the entire team. So I would request everyone to join us for the lunch. The next session is on the spine. It convenes sharp at 2 o'clock. Please join us for the lunch.